All right. Hi, everybody. I'm David Randleman. Just a little bit about myself. I have over a decade experience in offensive security and technical project management. I currently serve as the field CISO at FireCompass, specializing in AI-driven pen testing and attack surface management. Today, we're honored to welcome Bruce Schneier, one of the world's leading voices in cybersecurity and privacy. Bruce is a renowned security technologist, author, Harvard fellow. Bruce has helped shape my understanding of security in a connected world. His books include Applied Cryptography, Data and Goliath. They're all essential readings for anyone in the cybersecurity field. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Did I miss anything you would like to introduce yourself as?
Oh my God, you missed 100 things, but I think short is best.
All right, great. Well, thank you for the intro. Just for everyone in the audience knows, if they have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature that's native to this Zoom platform. And then Bruce and I will take questions as we go, as well as aim to take questions at the end. Um, so, Bruce, to kick us off, I hear that you are actually one of the originators of the term attack trees in cybersecurity. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, that's interesting. Yes. And I think that was my term because I really did think of it as a tree structure,
Mm-hmm.
as a alpha beta tree where you'd have, how did I do it? You'd have attacks and you have defenses and countermeasures and then attacks. And you would look at risk management as a series of security measures that would close off particular avenues of attack. So, to break into a house, you'd have a tree structure to have the door and the windows and any other vulnerabilities. And then under that, you'd have door locks and window locks. Under the door lock, it would be, someone steals your key, and so all of those different ways of thinking about security really as a series of moves and counter moves instead of
Mm-hmm.
holistically. Uh, there are a bunch of different methodologies. Adam Shostak wrote a book on sort of threat modeling in general, where he listed 5 or 6 different methodologies, attack trees being one of them. And they're all just different ways of thinking about the landscape in detail, which you have to do if you're a defender and if you're an attacker.
No, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things I kind of recognize with attack trees is that since they're programmatic in nature, in the way they have the branching structure, it seems like it lends itself well to automation. Um, and these days, like in the industry, we're also seeing, bad guys and good guys caught up in the new security tools arms race of having AI enabled attack tools and platforms. Um, where do you think like AI is playing a role in, essentially like automating these attack trees?
Now, automation is interesting. I didn't think of it when I was doing this. I mean, this is like the late 90s. I was
Mm-hmm.
really thinking about modularity. So, for example, I know nothing about lockpicking. I mean, I personally don't. I know a bunch of people who do, and I don't. But if I have a lock in my security, I could, just import someone's attack tree on door locks into my bigger attack tree for my, let's say, bank. And the idea was that different pieces of expertise could be encapsulated. That's why I did it. Now, automation is a way to traverse the tree in unexpected ways, giving you unexpected results. So maybe it also encapsulates expertise. It definitely encapsulates a dynamic structure. Think about it, any type of risk management system, it's it's static, right? You do it and it's done, but we know the world doesn't work that way, that all of our security really has to be dynamic because our environments are dynamic. So automation allows you to have, I'm going to make this up, a continuous attack tree that is constantly evolving to both the changing nature of vulnerabilities, attacks. Someone invents a bump key,
Mm-hmm.
and now your vulnerabilities or locks are different. Someone invents a new attack on RSA. There's a quantum computer, and all of those things. And then changes your environment. Right? Personnel changes in the value of data in different places, changes in how your environment works. So, I mean, I see all automation tools as making it easier because attack trees or any of these types of threat modeling exercises are very human intensive.
Absolutely. I used to do a lot of work on the delivery side in cybersecurity as like a pen tester, and the act of staying ahead of the game, figuring out how to apply the exploits, doing the manual pen testing, finding out the nuance between all these different environments was, honestly like utterly exhausting. And I'm sure you and I have both like heard the phrase that like computers are much better at detecting patterns in computers than human beings are and or ever will be.
I mean, certain types of patterns, but yes, and there's a lot of things that AI is just really suitable for. There's a lot of work in source code analysis, like finding vulnerabilities in
Mm-hmm.
code. Uh, and this is a very human-intensive manual process of pouring through the code, looking for uh, vulnerabilities. But AIs are getting, they're not great at it yet. They're getting pretty good at it, and they're getting better every year. And the notion of an AI vulnerability scanner built into the compiler in the same way optimizers are built into the compiler
Mm-hmm.
today, I think is very powerful. And that's just one narrow slice, looking at new code, either source code or object code.
Yeah, and how I've seen AI pen testing like operate in the commercial space today is like, we have predefined playbooks based off of say like the MITRE attack framework that are already set to go. Um, One of the ways to actually like initialize using those playbooks is to have AI do reconnaissance, find
Mhm.
out like what the infrastructure is, and then use run books accordingly, kind of like input output.
Yeah, it feels very mechanistic. I mean, the real value is going to be when the AI is creative, when it finds something new.
Mm-hmm.
And here I think is a really powerful use of AI. We think about AI replacing people, making mistakes, it doesn't do well. But if you use AI correctly, you leverage its capabilities while not disempowering the humans. So what you want that if any of these systems is the AI combs through the system looking for anomalies for the humans to check out. And whether it's an AI, auditing tax returns or looking at your development environment or anything, it will find stuff. And, it might be right, it might be wrong, but it gives a curated list of things for the humans to look at further. And that's way better than giving the humans everything. Look, humans can't look at everything, it's just too
Mm-hmm.
much. So, I mean, AI has real value there. And, there are examples where it finds something new, where it acts creative. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to miss stuff, but humans miss stuff. Question is, will it miss fewer things? Will it miss different things? Right? How does it augment the humans?
No, that's a good way of phrasing it. I kind of think like how my phone augments me is it's a device I carry around all the time.
And it
Um,
doesn't replace you, right?
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
not right. It's not going to like answer your email for you. And I think our fears of AI have to do with replacement. That it does a mediocre
Mm-hmm.
job, but it replaces us. I mean, that's the fears of journalists. That AI will do a lousy job of journalism, but the publications will fire the humans because the AI is cheaper, even though it is less effective. But AI assisted journalism can be phenomenal. If you have AI do the data analysis, look through documents, I mean, things where it does what it's good at, and then the humans do the actual investigation work. And then maybe AI assists in writing, but humans do the final writing and the final editing. I mean, these are
Yeah,
all
that resonates well.
powerful use cases.
I heard a really good example that rang true with me, where it's like AI isn't going to take your job away. Somebody who's using AI as a tool is going to take your job away.
And
So somebody who's
and
just going to work
that's
more effectively than you.
yeah, and that's really I think, and I think it's very true. But it is it's not AI, it's the late stage capitalism that AI is embedded in that is the problem. And I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of truth in that.
No, that's honestly like a really interesting thing to explore. But if I can pivot here, because I don't know how to address like the how to fix capitalism while also living it.
It's above
Yeah.
my pay grade as well.
Yeah, that's something you just like wake up like with consciousness in, and you're like you look around, you go, oh no, and then you just go forward with your day. Um,
It's all we can do.
yeah, Bruce, like where do you think pen testing is going to evolve in the next 50 years?
So I think pen testing has been episodic because it's
Hmm.
human intensive, because it is a thing that you do a pen test every year, every 6 months, right? You will hire some company to test your system. And if you remove a lot of the human labor, right? I mean, you still need the humans, but if a lot of that is automated, you can do pen testing more often to the point where you're always doing it. Right? It's like, we don't do spam detection once a month. We could, and if humans did spam detection, we would do that. But if you have an algorithm that can do it, you can do it all the time. And moving from episodic to continuous, I think makes it a different animal. It's no longer a pen test. I mean, when you take a test, you
Hmm.
go and you take a test. There's some kind of continuous penetration analysis that suddenly goes beyond testing to something that is always in your environment. It's like your firewall, it's like your IDS.
Yeah, it's endemic.
And right, but I think that's actually a difference in degree that makes a difference in kind. That is not just we're doing more 10 testing. It is we're doing something different.
Do you kind of view that as like, in the current state of things, you'll do vulnerability management, you'll have scanners come in, they'll point all the things that, could be exploited, but, due to service level agreements or contracts, like they're not able to take the next steps. Do you view continuous pen testing as like the next generation of vulnerability management? Because they're giving you the proof and footage.
Vulnerability management is less about finding them and more about patching them. Right? And there are a
Hmm.
lot of reasons why people don't patch the vulnerabilities they find. A lot of it has to do with the fact that the patches are often poor quality. And organizations know from bitter experience that blindly installing patches can drop your system. So while we as individuals turn on automatic update, whether it's Microsoft or Apple, and we get our patches and we just install them, and that's really best practice for people. For organizations, it's more complicated because your production environment is so valuable that you're often worried about just installing your patches. So we need to fix that as well, and that's a harder lift. I do see automation helping there too. It'd be great if as an organization, when I get a patch, I can automatically run it in a test environment, check that it's not going to break anything I have. And then if it's okay, I automatically install it on 10% of my servers and then 20, right? Remember the CrowdStrike outage? Their mistake was they didn't do a phased rollout of their update. And right, that dropped, a lot of stuff. So, I mean, yes, it is part of it, but knowing the vulnerabilities is really most useful if you can fix them, if you're willing to fix them.
Hmm.
I mean, this. There are companies that deliberately don't do vulnerability scanning because they have no intention on fixing the problems, and they don't want to know because they might be liable if they know. I mean, that's a crazy state of affairs.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
Schrodinger's cat almost. As long as you don't
it's
open the
even
box, you
worse
don't
than
know.
that, right? If I did a vulnerability scan and I got a list of vulnerabilities and I didn't fix them, that is now discoverable in a court case, and I can be pointed to that you didn't fix these things you knew about. If I don't know about them, I can plausibly claim ignorance. Right? This is bad, but
So you're just describing the fear of making a paper trail that could be used
yes,
against you.
the fear of a paper trail for a problem you're not going to fix. That if you are going to fix your problems, if you are running in a environment where it matters and it matters, then yes, doing these kind of continuous scanning is kind of a new generation of threat
Mhm.
modeling. And it'd be interesting to see if automation helps on the patching side as well, right? And here's AI doing things discontinuously. And I think we're going to see this in the next couple of years as we figure out what AI is good at and what it's not good at as the technology matures. I don't know if you go to the RSA conference. I was there in May, and like every company on the show floor has an AI strategy, and most of it's marketing bullshit, but some of it's real.
Mhm.
And shaking out what's real and what isn't is what we're going to be doing in the next year or so or 2 years.
Do you think it'll follow the industry trend of like we'll check in 5 to 10 years and see who's left, and those will be like the
I
main
don't think it's going
competitors
to
in
be
that
take
space?
that long. I mean, AI, unlike blockchain, like AI is an actual useful technology. So
Mhm.
there's real, meat behind the marketing. I think we're going to know much sooner what works. I mean, we'll know what doesn't, but you got to check back on what doesn't. Just because the technology is moving so fast that things that didn't work last year might work this year. And things that work this year will work better next year. Just, these are kind of heady days. It's like the early days of the internet where you had a
Mhm.
startup and you kind of, you know, went home on Friday and Monday you got back and your product was suddenly magically better because the internet was better. Right? This is like that here. You're doing a thing with AI and suddenly your thing is better because like, there's a new model and the AI is better and you didn't do anything and now you benefit from it. We are seeing that. I mean, there's still stuff AI is not good at, but it's just getting so much better all the time. Remember the early years of OpenAI and ChatGPT, where it made up references? Doesn't do that anymore. It checks references. Where it got math wrong, it doesn't do that anymore. It has a math API. So we're getting good at these systems improving, both in what they can do, in knowing when they're wrong, in being able to access tools like giving it API access, like letting it not just write code,
Mhm.
but test it and then debug it and use a calculator and use the internet to check facts. I mean, those are game changers just in that area, but there are just so many others.
No, that makes so much sense. Like the way I'm envisioning the future is like the manual pen tester of today is going to be the technical program manager for pen testing in the near future, and they're going to be responsible for giving continuous feedback to the AI tools that they're using.
Yeah, but there'll be pen testing the AI won't be able to do. I mean, there will be
Mhm.
both coordination and things around the edges. What the AI is going to be good at, I mean, in general, what AI is good at is doing something that's been done a million times before, but not in exactly the same way. Right? And that's what pen testing is. Like we run a pen test. We know how to do it. We run it a million times before. That kind of thing is ideal for an AI to do, but there'll always be aspects of that sort of on the edges that'll be unique. So I don't see it taking the place of humans. I do see it augmenting humans really powerfully.
I just to call back to my earlier statements, like when I was a earlier pen tester in my career, I ran into burnout because I would be doing the same monotonous tasks over and over again. And I wish I had an AI pen testing tool that could have taken that burden away from me at the time.
Right, or an intern or something.
Yeah, something to delegate that down to. We do have a question in the audience here from Ankit Sharma. Already, few orgs have stopped hiring humans. They're using AI for daily works. Um, do you think that the work being produced by AI, Bruce, how do you do like quality reviews and ensure that it's like bug free? I think is
So
Ankit's question.
it's a more general question. I mean, whether it's AIs, writing news articles or AIs writing code, the AIs will make mistakes, but humans make mistakes. And if you think about it, we have thousands of years of security systems designed to deal with human mistakes, right? From audits to copy editors to checklists to ensure that doctors don't leave medical equipment in bodies when they sew them up, to, like airplane procedures. We know how to deal with human mistakes. To the extent that AI makes human mistakes, human type mistakes, we are covered. We know how to deal with that. It's only a problem when AIs make different sort of mistakes. So think about generative AI. When you're talking to a human, you have a good sense of where they're going to make mistakes. They tend to make mistakes at the edge of their knowledge. Those mistakes tend to be accompanied by statements of ignorance. So if I'm talking to you, if I've hired you, I'm going to get a feel for what you can do and can't do. Generative AI, at least traditionally, makes mistakes more uniformly through the space and is supremely confident. So it'll get, I don't know, detailed questions in astrophysics correct, but it'll get that things fall down when you drop them and not up wrong, or something like that. And it'll be supremely confident. Oh yeah, things fall up. Don't be ridiculous. So that makes them harder. But we need to build check systems to handle AI sorts of mistakes. And we are building that. I'm, I have my students use AI to write their papers. And I tell them, maybe this is a tool, you should use it, but the work is yours. Any mistakes are yours. Any plagiarism is yours. You need to verify what you're signing your name to that the AI produces. I'm fine with the AI produces, I don't care, but it's your work. So that, puts a burden on the human writer to check on the AI output. For code, we have lots of ways of verifying code. It turns out that AI right now produces mediocre code, basically because it's trained on GitHub, and GitHub is full of mediocre code. And, we will get better at that. We will get better at using AI. I mean, right now, the best programmers make the best use of the AI tools because they are better programmers. The questioner also asked, mentioned that a fintech company recently announced they won't hire humans. Fintech companies are morons, so I'm not going to worry about what they do. That'd be stupid to do. And presumably they will hire humans again once they realize how stupid that idea is. So, we're not going to be able to not hire humans. A lot of it's going to be human plus computer. Now, that might change. You remember a few years ago when AI chess started being like really a thing? We were in a bunch of years where the best AIs beat the best humans, but the team of human plus AI would beat either the best humans or the best AI. That was interesting. So human plus AI was the best. That has actually passed. Now the best AIs beat the combination. So this is going to be moving.
Bruce, very insightful. I have a question for you from the audience. How should copyright laws adapt to balance fairness for original creators and AI contributions while still addressing accountability for plagiarism?
So
I know that's like a
this
pretty
is a hard
open-ended.
one, and we're this is one we are struggling with. We are litigating this. We are regulating this. We are figuring this out. Uh, Clearly, generative AI tools need to train on everything, and that is it means training copyright data. And the data is not that valuable in itself. If you were to ask these companies to pay, so like my books are in the corpus. My copyright data is being stolen by AIs. So I can speak from personal experience. Uh, if they were to pay me for the use of that AI, it would be negligible money. It is my individual contribution is not that valuable. If you removed it, it wouldn't be that a big deal. So this is an example where it is valuable in aggregate, but not valuable in the individual. Makes it hard to price. Some people have decided that there should be licensing agreements. And the big companies are increasingly doing that. Right? New York Times, Reddit are trying to license their data. Twitter is doing the same, Facebook. Uh, s- you can imagine an ASCAP-like model where we are paid small amounts of money as our data is used, just as a performer is paid small amounts of money if their song is played, you know, in a coffee shop somewhere. And that's a mandatory scheme. So you don't opt out of that. You just get paid your royalty. We can imagine something else. The We don't really have good copyright law to handle this.
Mhm. I
And I
like
think we need
the
it. Some of
yeah.
it has to do with you don't know how your data is being used, and that's interesting, and that's changing. There's a lot of work being done on trying to understand where in the model data is. So I read a paper maybe 6 months ago on whether you can have an AI forget something. So the example in this paper was Harry Potter. Could the AI be made to forget Harry Potter? Now that's hard because it's not just the books. Harry Potter is a cultural touchstone that will appear in lots of places. It'll be characters, it'll be memes, it'll be quotes, it'll be images. But can you somehow get the AI to be to where Harry Potter doesn't exist? And of course, this matters because of the lawsuits. Nobody wants, if they lose a suit, to be forced to have to retrain their AI model at hundreds of millions of dollars. They would rather be able to go in and surgically remove what they've been told they can't use. So, along with that is understanding where Harry Potter exists or where my book exists or my writing more generally. So if we have some idea of that, we could watch the AI in operation and now know when you give it a query and it gives you a response, which area is fired. If the Harry Potter area fires, maybe J.K. Rowling is owed some royalty. If the applied cryptography area fires, I'm owed some royalty. We can imagine this dynamic system. We are far from any of this, but there are things to think about. We don't want a world where AIs can't train on humanity. We also don't want a world where creatives are being stripped of a livelihood by AIs who've trained on their work and then replace them. And if you
Mhm.
are an artist, you are concerned about that. If you are a novelist, not sort of a high-end literary novelist, but a genre novelist, you're writing westerns or romances or sort of classic sci-fi, you might be worried that, an AI can kind of replace you. And that feels no fair. And we have to figure that out.
Yeah, no, that's hard. Even if you peel it back, like a human author at one point drew inspiration from previous literature in order to create the work that he
And
produced
this is
later.
important. I want a world where you, as an artist, can go to a museum, look at every nose painted during the Renaissance, and learn how to paint a nose, right?
Hmm.
Now, that's not the same as an AI doing the same thing, but it's in the right ballpark. So, what can we learn from humans in the way they learn that we can apply to AI? We don't want the exact same thing because now an AI can make millions of noses, and we don't no longer need human nose painters. It's different
Yeah,
than the humans learning the skill and practicing the craft. So these are hard questions. They're like, bigger than me. I do think about them, and lots of others are too. That's the good thing. I mean, yes, the companies are running roughshod over copyright and over everybody's rights in all ways, but there are people thinking about this.
Bruce, I have a question for you, that's maybe more tied to like how you as an academic teach the next generation of people who are entering like the cybersecurity space. I don't think day one you come out the corner with like, here's all the concerns about AI. How do you generally like build a foundation for people before going into the AI conversation?
So I teach at the Harvard Kennedy School. So I teach at a
Mhm.
public policy graduate school. So my joke is that I teach cryptography to students who deliberately did not take math as undergraduates.
I can relate to
So it's
that.
a
I was
very
bad at
different
math.
sort of animal, right? I'm teaching the policy of security. So I might teach secure by design as a policy recommendation, going dark as a policy problem. I will teach AI security as a measure of what's the policy debates around that. So I'm working with people who have one foot in both tech and policy. Most of them are at the policy school getting a master's degree in public policy with some tech background, but I get people from the CS graduates, and I get people from the law school and the business school. So I am, dealing in those areas. Uh, I find I just throw people in. I mean, I can't assume a certain background, but we need to be in a world where policymakers can make policy on areas they're not experts in. And whether it
Mhm.
is, aircraft design or unemployment or housing or pharmaceuticals or food safety or immigration. I mean, these are all very specialized fields that we expect our policymakers just make policy in. So, I just do it. In deep tech, I think we do a pretty good job in our schools of giving people the background they need. And I think we do a pretty good job on the job training in most companies where people can get the skills they need. I think our problem is we don't have enough people with the skills.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. We see this a lot in the cybersecurity where, there's the conversation and argument that cybersecurity isn't an entry level position. It's something you graduate into after having already done like work in infrastructure,
But it
as an
can't.
example.
But as AI does more of the detailed work, it can be.
Mhm.
Right? If the humans are doing higher level coordination, then an AI assistant just makes them smarter. And this is kind of an interesting AI question, and it's a very general one. Does AI make the best better, or does it raise the average? So, for example, AI is doing customer service calls. They are, as a customer service assistant, they make the average customer service agent much better. They don't really make the best better at all, right? They raise the mean, but the top is still the top. An AI assisted programmer, it's the opposite. They raise the quality of the average programmer, but they raise the quality of the best programmers even more.
Oh, I
Now,
like that a
we
lot.
don't know what that's going to be sort of in any area of any of the different areas of cybersecurity. And you can imagine it doing either. And you can imagine that changing.
Um, Bruce, maybe we can shift gears a little bit. I have a question for you. So we talk about enabling like blue team defenders or like internal cybersecurity
So I
experts
lose my
with
team
AI
colors.
tools.
Who's a blue team?
I think of them as like a system defender or like a corporate employee who is like tasked with maintaining or operating a security program.
So a red team's a contractor and a blue team is someone you've
I
employed.
would view a red team as like a somebody who's emulating a hacker externally.
Okay.
And then they have like that back and forth conversation to, mature a security program through testing, patching, testing,
Right,
remediation,
right,
so
right.
on. So right now, like we see in the corporate space, a lot of cybersecurity AI tools are being set up to enable these blue team defenders to compete with essentially what's being attacked against them from nation states, malicious hackers, and entities. But what do you think are like the evolving use cases of bad guys using AI to break into corporate systems, as an example?
I mean, they can do the same things we do. I mean, that's the thing about vulnerability scanners, right? The good guys and bad guys use
Mhm.
them. Do you remember the first vulnerability scanner? 1990s, Dan Farmer invents a program called Satan, and it was widely viewed as a hacker tool. I mean, in the documentation, he had a little switch you can change the name to Santa if you know, didn't like calling it Satan in your company, right? But back orifice was both a hacker attack tool and a corporate defense tool. These are very much dual use tools because Who's using it? Is the defender using it to find vulnerabilities to patch, or is the attacker using it to find vulnerabilities to exploit? So you are going to see attackers using these exact same tools, as always, right? As it's been since the beginning. And that's going to be the benefit of a continuous tool use, continue for the defender continuously using it, is you have, at least in theory, the ability to stay a step ahead of the attacker. I'm asked pretty regularly, which will AI benefit more, the attacker or the defender? And I don't think we know the answer. Right? That is going to be an arms race that'll go back and forth over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And how this will shake out, we don't know. I think in the near term, defenders benefit more from AI than attackers. The reason is basically that you're already being attacked at computer speeds. And the ability to, at least in part, defend at computer speeds is incredibly powerful. So whether it's, noticing an attack, automatically patching, cleaning up a vulnerability, monitoring code as it's deployed on your network, doing all those things in real time give you a huge advantage that you didn't have previously. So long term, I don't know who benefits more. Short term, I think the defender benefits.
I would agree with that statement, especially since the defender has access to more internal assets for training.
And more internal knowledge. You mentioned that red team, blue team. I want a pen tester on the defense side to use all the knowledge possible. Because I don't need to, play the game of, well, pretend the attacker didn't know this. Let's assume the attacker knows everything. Same thing in cryptography. Like, we assume the attacker has access to everything, and we build our systems secure despite that. We don't say, well, the attacker will never know the algorithm. Well, what if they do? That's very fragile. And the same thing, I think, in any kind of network security. Assume the attacker knows everything. Assume it's a disgruntled employee. Assume it's an insider. Assume it's the Russian government. Assume it's someone who's incredibly skilled and has access to tools and capabilities that you don't. So give your defending tester every advantage you can, because that's the most useful test to you.
No, that makes sense. The mission to get the same tools on the defender side. Bruce, can I ask you more of a question that's kind of been in the back of my head, maybe a slightly different topic? How concerned should I be about quantum computing breaking current encryption standards? I figured I'd ask you, being a cryptographer.
No, it's a good question, and the short answer is not very. The longer answer requires some explanation. So quantum computing is a new way of computing. It is in development. We do not have a useful working quantum computer. We have toy quantum computers right now. And there was just an announcement from Google last week that they went partially solved one of the coherence problems. So we are still, I think, generations away from working quantum computer. A quantum computer, in theory, breaks our current public key algorithms. I say in theory because these are theoretical algorithms. We don't know if they actually work. We won't know till we have an actual quantum computer to try them on. We don't know the constant terms. We actually don't know if they're feasible, but they in theory do work. Also, we know sort of in theory that symmetric algorithms are secure. With a big enough key length, they're fine. And so the quantum computer cannot break like AES. It just can't. The best it does is reduce the complexity of the calculation by a factor of a square root. So 256-bit key, you're fine. So that's the theory. Now, getting from the theory to reality is hard. And we quite literally don't know if that is hard as in land a person on the surface of the moon hard, or land a person on the surface of the sun hard. Those are very different types of hard. But we cryptographers are a conservative bunch, and we are already developing post-quantum cryptography algorithms. So NIST has had a competition the past few years. There are now, I think, 3 or 4 standards, and you today can implement post-quantum algorithms in your system. and you will be secure against a quantum computer. Probably. Lots of things we don't know about quantum computers, but probably. So basically, the math is well ahead of the physics. The real issue here is algorithm agility. A lot of systems, it's not easy to swap out one algorithm, put in another algorithm. It should be. Algorithm agility is important for quantum computing and for everything else. So the more we are agile, the better we'll be. So I think quantum computing is exciting. I think it will eventually break RSA and Diffie-Hellman and all those classical systems. Uh, I don't know when. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, don't know. And we will have to transition to post-quantum algorithms, but we've got some. Now, you think about what's going on here, we can make it so future stuff is secure, but right now you're the NSA, you're China, you're scooping up everything and saving it because when the quantum computer comes, you'll be able to break the old things. That's going to be a problem. But in most of our life, we tend not to have long-term secrets. Long-term secrets are rare in our world. You think of corporate secrets, they become like headlines a month, a year later. The new design of the car is on the road in a year or two. Long-term secrets are very narrow, right? The secret formula for, I don't know, Coca-Cola or the spice mixed in KFC, right? I mean, those kind of trade secrets are long-term secrets. Identities of spies are long-term secrets. I hope they're not on computers in any case.
Mhm. No, that's very
Somebody asked a
insightful.
question about machine learning in context of quantum computing. I don't see any way that machine learning will make any difference in quantum cryptography. We actually don't know whether machine learning AI algorithms will be better and how. There's not a lot of even theory there because there's enough weirdness in how the quantum systems work and how AI works that the intersection of the two is like super weird. So there probably will be quantum AI models that will be different in ways that we literally can't imagine, and they might be better in some ways. But in terms of quantum computing and quantum cryptography and I don't see anything there. It'll be different if AI start getting so good at math that they're inventing new forms of cryptanalysis. We are a long way away from that. That is a level of creativity that is uniquely human, I think, for the near and probably foreseeable future. It'd be cool to be proven wrong. I mean, it would be super neat to have AI generated cryptanalytic attacks against algorithms. I can't imagine it, but I'd love to see it.
No, that's very reassuring. Bruce, question for you. What advice would you give to security leaders today about how to navigate the complexity of cybersecurity? Like, how would you advise that they stay ahead of the curve?
You just have to do it. I don't have any secret advice. I do it by reading a lot of things, and I don't think there's any shortcut. Uh, and we all have news sources that we like, and we follow them. So, I mean, doing that. I think going to the trade shows matters. Right? The big trade shows like RSA, everybody's there. Walking the show floor is useful to see what companies are doing. Right? Going to the talks is useful. Find out what's going on. Those are incredibly concentrated, 4 days of what's new in the industry. But it really is just like doing the work and following the news. There's no secret there. I mean, I wish there was a secret. I would do it. I'd say read my blog, but like read lots of blogs.
No, that's very reassuring because I always have the fear that I'm missing out on something as I
Guaranteed
go,
and
I
guaranteed
live the
you
life.
are. Right? Guaranteed you're missing out on something.
Oh,
There's a
absolutely.
lot. I'm missing out on things. I mean, I have the benefit of strangers email me stuff, which by the way, I like for everyone listening. So I get regular emails because people know I write my blog, I write my newsletter, that I'm interested in these things. So people regularly send me news articles of things that are happening. And many of them are things I would have otherwise missed. So yes, you're missing stuff because there's so much happening.
Makes sense to me. So speaking of continuing education, and Bruce, this might be a chance for you to plug one of your novels here, but you've authored over a dozen books on cybersecurity. Like which of those are you most proud of? Or which do you think holds
So
up the
the
best?
answer to that question, if you ask any writer, well, when the ask writer what their favorite book is, it's always the most recent. It's not always, it generally is.
All
Right? We
right.
we tend to like the thing we just did. And my books are different. Right? Applied cryptography is cryptography. Hacker's Mind is about social systems. Dating Goliath is about privacy. Click here to Kill Everybody is about IoT and security. Secrets and Lies is about general data security. So they're different. And I don't want to plug any one of them. The Cybersecurity Canon is a series of books that have been generally voted to be good books to read. And I would go there as a single one-stop book on cybersecurity and all of its aspects. There is nothing better than Ross Anderson's Security Engineering. I mean, it is this thick, and every page is filled with insights. Uh, that is the prize I give my students when they win a contest at the beginning of the semester, because it's a book they can impress everybody by having on their bookshelf, because it literally is this thick. Uh, but there's a lot out there. I mean, we've been talking about threat modeling. Adam Shostak's books are great in this.
Do you think that, this is just me pivoting off of what you just said, but will AI participate in threat modeling conversations in the future? Or do you think that'll be something that engineers on a whiteboard do?
No, I
Because
think
they have the
AI is
nuance.
going to participate. Just like, I mean, AI is going to be an assistant for everything. I mean, I think when I think about government, I think about negotiating assistants. It's that AIs will be a negotiation assistant, and a negotiator will have human assistants and AI assistants. So in all of cybersecurity, there'll be AI assistants that will assist humans in whatever they're doing. And we will know their strengths and limitations, and they will probably get smarter as the years go. So yes, I think we're going to see AI assistance for like everything.
Bruce, this is just more of like an observation on my part. I heard some of my peers saying that a lot of the patents around AI have actually kind of been applied and received 20 years ago. And a lot of the AI products we're seeing on the commercial space are finally showing up almost 20 years later, which kind of implies that, people have been brooding and thinking about this for much longer than just like the current buzzword that we think will, be replaced right around the corner.
AI is from the 60s, right? And there have been developments. The phrase AI winter is commonly used as money dried up and research dried up because there was no progress being made. We are definitely in an AI renaissance after several uh, booms and winters of AI. Yes, a lot of foundational patents are ancient, but I
Mhm.
assure you, all these companies are patenting new things. And the who owns these technologies is going to be a big legal tug of war. I like that a lot of the research happens in the open. Like Transformers, that was a paper that developed the architecture that all modern AIs used. I forget which company it was. It was either Microsoft or Google. I'm forgetting which one. Did they patent it? I don't know. I think they might not have. That's great. But I'm sure lots and lots of patents are occurring in this space. And that's going to be, unfortunately, ways to lock out newcomers, which is not great for society.
Is there any way that you think that legislation could foster competition in the AI space? Like I always hear the rumors that
100%. I want to break up the tech monopolies. The big problem in all of tech are the monopolies. And the more we can do to actually foster competition, be great. But right now, the way the monopolies are uh, sucking up all the money, the resources, hiring all the talent, buying the companies that show any promise is not good. It's not good to have three or four big players. We need real competition in this space. So it's going to be hard. And we've seen great work out of the FTC and antitrust division, under the Biden administration. Probably goes away under Trump. So really we have to look to the Europe to enforce antitrust. But, that's how we get, good competition and good innovation.
That makes a lot of sense. I see in the news cycle that, every now and then Google gets threatened with their monopoly and, piecemealing that
I mean,
company
but
out, and then
Google
it
has
never comes
been
to
has
fruition.
been has been judged by a court as a monopolist. Let's
Mhm.
not, I mean, Google's a monopolist. They are legally a monopolist. And right now we're in the remedy phase. Now that might go away with administration change, but there's debate in courts right now about, does Google need to be broken up? That is happening. That is an actual thing. And it's a big deal.
So realistically, do you see the same situation where there's going to be an AI monopoly, maybe
I
like
mean, there
split
already
between three
is.
companies in the future?
We already have a few companies, and that has to do with, both the concentration of money and the fact that it's incredibly expensive to create a core model. Now, I don't know if that's going to sustain. There's a lot of work being done on smaller, cheaper models. Hugging Face has a repository of over 1 million public domain AI models, which is crazy when you think about it. So, it remains to be seen how the technology fosters monopolization. If you do need hundreds of millions of dollars to make a new model, then there'll be natural consolidation. If, everyone's making a model on their phone in a year or two, then suddenly it's much more diffuse. But, the companies are betting on the monopolization, and they are hiring all the talent.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of tools in the industry that will be like, here's your new way to use AI for a specific use case. And then it ends up just being with ChatGPT on the back end. So it
But
has like
that's
the
not
illusion of
bad.
being independent.
Yeah, that's not necessarily bad. I mean, a lot of the applications of AI will take these core AI models, whether they're generative or not, and then apply them in some way, right? So the AI that reads chest X-rays, will be some core model that is trained on chest X-rays. The AI that's doing vulnerability scanning will be some core model that's trained on vulnerabilities. And we're good with that. I don't think, we don't need everybody to start from scratch. We need good core models that can be customized to do different things, to behave in different ways, to act as a travel agent or a therapist or a source code analyst or a negotiation assistant or a attorney assistant that looks at documents in discovery or a tax auditor. I'm like making this stuff up. But I'm not, but I don't think that the models need to be built from the ground up for those applications. If they are, it's going to be much more expensive.
Absolutely. Earlier, you were also saying that, AI raises the mean average of quality. Um,
In
we
some
have a
cases.
use, in some cases, we have a possible use case here from a question in the audience that says, um, security practitioners are generally failing in the ability to improve company security culture over time because people make mistakes. Those security operators make mistakes. Do you kind of see AI being used to instill corporate security culture as like a possibility?
Yeah, I don't know, right? I mean, that culture is mostly based on money and not tech,
Mhm.
right? There's no security culture because it's expensive. And companies would rather take the chance than spend the money. So I don't think any technology helps or hinders there. I mean, that's a matter of incentives. That's a matter of regulation. That's a matter of of of, of stock price and shareholder capitalism. I mean, that's what's causing that problem. Surely AI can assist if you as a company want to be more secure. Now, lots of tech tools you can bring to bear on the problem. But I don't think that the tech tools will change your stance in any way.
Mhm. I generally think of security culture in corporations as the reminder that you are at work and that, if you're using a corporate laptop, you should keep your personal life off of it just because it increases the attack surface that you're basically liable for as an individual. So like, Facebook, personal apps, are just extra
But yet that's
vectors.
incredibly frustrating. Who wants two laptops? Who wants two phones? I mean, yes, you're right. We want people to separate, but nobody wants to separate because it's annoying. And the CEO doesn't even want to separate. Right? They want one laptop and one phone because it's easier to carry around.
Mhm.
And making them carry around two is hard. And if they're not going to do it, their employees aren't going to do it.
I think
I mean,
there's like
the reality is that
Mhm.
people are using their personal devices. And I'd rather figure out how to make that secure than try to force people to do something they don't want to do.
I
Some
think
ways
like
you
one of
can.
the,
If you are
yeah.
the military, you can make someone like you have a clearance. This is the cleared computer. This is the uncleared computer. And you can go to jail if you mess that up.
Mhm.
It's harder for regular people.
Yeah, that's the background I'm used to. I'm sure you and I are in the same situation. Like we can't throw a rock in our house without hitting maybe 5 computers.
I like having fewer, but I have more than I want.
No, that's fair.
I also don't want to throw
Um,
rocks in my house.
as long as it's not out a window, I hope.
That's right.
So Bruce, we have 5 minutes left. I wish I had given you more time. Like, is there anything you want to bring out as a topic?
I think this is all good.
I got you. Well, hey, what are you working? Do you have a new book on the horizon?
So I'm thinking about right now AI and democracy. And that's an interesting question of how AI can help democracy. I mean, there's two separate questions. One is how AI can help countries move towards democracy, and one is how AI can be used in a democracy. And I'm typically very optimistic. This is really was the first year where AI was used in elections, and it was mostly great stuff. AI being used to connect to voters, AI is being used to uh, help hone strategy, to automatic language translation, help with canvassing, help with fundraising, sort of all the aspects of an election are we're getting AI tools, just like everything else that humans are doing. We're getting AI tools. And there's also AI tools for legislating, for bureaucracy, in the courtroom, for citizens. So I'm writing about that. And security matters here because these AIs have to be trusted. And how the hell do you trust these AIs? But I've been thinking a lot about AI embedded in society and what that means for society.
No, I'm. When will that book be released? Not to rush you.
Fall of 2025 is the plan. We'll see. But that is current plan. Fall of 2025.
I guess you got
Check
a
my
lot of
website,
wiggle
check my
room before
blog.
the next
You'll see
election cycle
updates.
here. No, that,
Sorry,
that
say
sounds like a
again?
really interesting topic. I was saying that,
It's gonna
we
be
have
fun.
maybe, yeah, we have 4 years until the next election cycle. You got plenty of time to write it. So,
But it's very international. It's not just the US. I mean, exciting things are happening in France. Exciting things are happening
Mhm.
in Japan, in Australia, in Canada. So, I mean, I don't mean to be US only. I mean democracy in general.
No, that's fair. That's very global of you. I should have
In
been more
India,
open-minded
right?
there.
Modi used AI to automatically translate his speeches into 20 plus languages. It's a phenomenal use of AI.
No, that's amazing. It's a very clever use case there.
Yeah,
Was
New
it
York
like
Mayor.
real-time transcription or just after the
No,
vote?
real-time voice.
Amazing.
Suddenly, political leaders can now speak all languages. Welcome to the future.
Yeah, I feel like we're in the Star Trek
A
at this
little
rate.
bit.
So, Bruce, thank you so much for your time. It's been great having you. I feel like I've learned a lot. I really appreciate the work you do.
Thanks for having me on. This has been fun.
Yeah. Well, good luck. I'm sure you're appreciating the downtime before the next spring semester starts. I'm sure other people are doing the grading for you on your behalf.
No, I have to do the grading. Don't be
And you
ridiculous. And
use AI to do the
I
grading.
can't have an AI do the grading. God, the AI writes such stylistic comments. All the students know. No, I have to do it myself.
Okay, fair. You can't just tell it to the AI be more concise.
It's still not.
All
It
right, all
doesn't.
right,
It just sounds just non-human enough that I don't trust it.
all right. I'm glad you're focused on the outcome of your students before putting the tooling first. So, thank you so much, Bruce. It's been great.
All right, thank you.